Hello, everyone, and welcome to this episode of the Legal Paige Podcast. Today's episode, I am going to give you a little update on where we are at legally with COVID-19 as we move into a whole new year, 2021. And I'm going to answer some of our top questions from the Legal Paige community on Facebook. This is a private Facebook group. Some of the questions I'm going to go over are: how does COVID-19 continue to impact our services as we perform as a business owner moving into 2021? And how can you make sure as a business owner that you are legally protected within your client contracts moving into 2021? Now, we all know that COVID-19 is still an ever-present issue and that reschedulings and cancellations, especially in the wedding and event world, will likely still happen throughout the next year. And so in this podcast episode, I really want to focus not only on some good Q&A, but I really want to go through what is your 2021 COVID plan. And then I'm going to explain to you two different clauses that the Legal Paige has, and you will choose one of them pursuant to your business morals, ethics, and practices that you will add into your client contracts. And then I'm going to tell you how to communicate these new COVID policies to your clients moving forward. Let's get into this episode, Legal Pagers. You're listening to the Legal Paige Podcast, where we chat about life and business with a legal twist. I'm Paige, attorney and photographer helping online businesses and creatives tackle their business dreams without breaking out in hives. No more legal mumbo jumbo. This podcast features simple, bite-sized advice that'll have you legally legit in no time. Are you ready? Let's get started. As a reminder, before we get into this episode, I am legally obligated to give my disclaimer. So I am an attorney, but I am not your attorney. All legal information I talk about on this episode is intended for the masses and a large variety of different businesses. I am only your attorney when you hire me and we sign an engagement letter for me to work specifically on your legal issues. Please feel free to seek out another attorney in your hometown if you need specific legal advice or contact me for more information. Alrighty, here's the episode, friends. Okay, my friends, I know that 2020 has been a year. Small business owners in every industry have been tested incredibly this year, not only financially, but emotionally and physically as well. This has not been a year for the faint of heart, but I am just so proud of all of you business owners out there who, despite all of these changes, you are still doing your very, very, very best to serve your clients well and keep your businesses going. And I know it hasn't been easy. So as this year comes to a close, I really, really wanted to just point out some future what ifs that we all need to be prepared for regarding COVID-19 as we move into a whole new year of 2021. I know we're all saying goodbye to 2020 and what that held for our businesses, good and bad, of course. But because we are in wintertime right now with cold and flu season, we're also seeing a huge surge in COVID cases. And it's interesting to me because I find that the media is focusing a lot on other things other than COVID. I find that in our everyday lives, oftentimes we're a little bit desensitized to this whole COVID thing that's happening. I mean, it's been happening since the middle of March 2020. Basically, it's been happening since the middle of March. We're almost 9 months in. And now as we move into a whole new year, we need to begin preparing our business with an action plan on how we're going to handle client questions, cancellations, rescheduling situations, and anything else that may come our way in the year ahead, especially when COVID-19 is still an issue. And I'm here as Paige Griffith of the Legal Paige, as an attorney, and of course, as an entrepreneur and small business owner to help you as much as I can. And so I'm going to break down some action steps on how you can formulate a really good plan for addressing COVID-19 for your business in the new year. So first and foremost, I'm sure you're wondering, how do I keep up with my state's COVID-19 updates? Well, first off, in order to have a plan, you need to keep up to date on what your state's rules and guidelines are for your business's operations. Now, this means knowing where to look for the information. And one of the best places to do this is just to go to yourstate.com/COVID. Usually it's like montana.com/COVID or, washington.com/COVID. Sometimes it's washingtonstate.gov. If you even just type into the Google search bar, Washington State COVID, I bet the first 1 or 2 clicks that you can get on the Google search is going to be your state governor's website and all of the COVID-19 information for not only citizens of that state, but business owners as well. You also want to make sure that not only are you checking your state's websites, but you're checking your county's websites, and they should have a link right there on the homepage. So if you say live in King County in Washington, you're going to type in King County COVID information, and all of those links should show up right there on the homepage. All of the counties and states throughout the U.S. have done really, really well to keep up-to-date information readily available on those first few headers on their website. Now, like I said, it's important to check both because you want to be sure that as a business owner, you're not only following your guidelines as a small business for your state and the policies and regulations that are in place there, but also counties sometimes have more restrictive or sometimes less restrictive measures than the state. Usually it's on the more side of things. So you want to check your county's guidelines as well, because that will ensure that you as a small business owner are doing all that you need to do to keep your business open as the new year moves forward. And like I said at the beginning of this episode, 2021 is, we're going to tiptoe into it. I'm sure you've seen a lot of those cute little memes and, graphic templates that are rolling around on social media. It's like, we're going to just tiptoe in. We're not going to touch anything in 2021. We're going to be slow here. And as we move forward, I think January, February, March 2021, our states and our counties are going to start updating things, especially post the holidays. We're going to probably continue to have a surge in cases for the next few months. And then as the vaccine starts rolling out, it is right now, and as more and more people start getting it, then you might see less restrictive measures coming from states and counties. So I just want you to keep an eye on these websites, and also when your state and county is announcing new guidelines, restrictions, or rules for you as a business owner. Now, many of you probably know this, but state governors usually hold a publicly televised press conference for you to follow along in real time. And then they will publish those new updates in a document on their website. And like I said, right on those COVID-19 tabs on their homepage, they're going to have all of those new updates. And then one last tip that I have for you that I have found with a lot of people in the TLP community is they have been joining local groups for business owners in their regions, and other business owners will then discuss in these forums all of the updates and then specifically how they apply to your specific industry. And that kind of thing can be super helpful in moving forward with the next step in this COVID-19 plan as we move into 2021. So the second thing I want you to do is make a plan, okay? Just make a plan for your clients and your business. It doesn't have to be perfect. In fact, as we all know, for the past 9 months, it's probably better to not have a one-size-fits-all set in stone plan that you're never going to change, because we all know that things are going to come up with this pandemic and you're going to have to adjust. But I want you to at least have a plan. You can always amend said plan, but I want you to have one. So think through the most recent COVID-19 updates in your state, and then start being proactive with communicating with your clients. So think about what your policies will be regarding client cancellations and reschedulings. And also, what safety measures will your business take to protect clients and everyone that is involved in your business, whether you have staff or contractors or second shooters. And then how can your clients get in touch with you to discuss any potential issues or concerns they have? Now, in this same vein, I want you to, once you have the plan in place, I want you to then update your contract with your COVID-19 policies. Many of you throughout 2020 have probably added in some type of COVID-19 clause to your client contracts. the Legal Paige created a COVID-19 postponement and cancellation clause that probably thousands of business owners have added into their contracts at this point. And that was 100% fine and was 100% appropriate to use during about the period of March to probably end of 2020. Sometimes people were changing things in fall of 2020 when they knew that the pandemic wasn't going to be over. So March, when everything was starting, you needed to add some type of COVID-19 policy. And this specific clause that we created gave everybody a little bit of a pressure release valve on rescheduling situations in the case of COVID-19 impacting the wedding or event that your clients intended to host. So what this clause ultimately did was say you would get one complimentary reschedule if COVID-19 were to impact your wedding or event, but that you still can't cancel, and cancellation means that you forfeit all fees paid, but you would get, you get a rescheduling fee attached essentially. And so it kind of trumped your original rescheduling policies in your contract and said, for COVID-19 reasons only, we will allow you to reschedule moving forward. And throughout this year, this clause has been really awesome for clients to be like, okay, this business owner is on my side. I'm trying my best to plan a wedding or event right now, but I just want to make sure there's something in their contract that will allow me to kind of a little bit of wiggle room and to move forward as planned with my wedding planning, just in case COVID lingers for a long enough period of time. And especially with people who were planning weddings in summer and fall of 2020, this was really important clause for them to have in their contract with all of their service providers. And many of you in the TLP community and obviously wedding and event industry put a COVID-19 postponement and cancellation clause in your contract. Now, while you can't change any of your past contracts, you can always try to change, and you can use contract amendments and just change things up a little bit. It would be really hard pressed for your clients to then sign a new COVID policy. But here's the trick moving forward. So as COVID has become kind of this unending thing in today's world until we really get these vaccines rolling out, like millions and billions of people are vaccinated, you as a business owner kind of posed with having to make some hard rules, especially for not allowing rescheduling and cancellations. And here's why. So I am seeing more and more business owners in the wedding and event industry not allowing clients to move forward or cancel anymore due to COVID for new bookings only. So when a new client comes to you and they say, hey, we just got engaged, it was the holiday season, and now we're starting to plan our wedding. And especially right now, as I was planning my wedding in 2020, we just kind of put a halt on that. Many of you know that. If not, go listen to my other podcast episodes on that. But many of you also kind of know that, not only does my lawyer brain think about planning weddings and events in terms of contracts with clients, but I'm also a photographer. I was also a bride-to-be. So I kind of understand what the mindset is for, spouses as they are planning their weddings moving into 2021. So if they recently got engaged, they're thinking right now, okay, 2021 is going to be a hot year for weddings and events because everybody moved from 2020 to 2021. Everything is booked. So right now, if we did want to get married this year, maybe it's the fall. And if it's the fall, I need to start booking my vendors now. But what is COVID going to look like in fall of 2021? And that's where they're going to come to you. If you are the service provider that they want to book for their wedding, you need to have your COVID plan in place for 2021. And clients who are still planning to move forward with wedding and event planning, even into 2022, I would say. So throughout the next year, 12 months of 2021, and then as we move forward into 2022, people are choosing to plan events and weddings right now in the midst of a pandemic. Thus, they are accepting the risk that COVID poses, and they are choosing voluntarily to proceed with those type of planning risks. And that is something you need to remember as a service provider. Not to mention, your business is willing to block out dates on your calendar for the clients to book you. You're saying no to other clients in a very, very hot year where you can't afford to say no to other clients if this client decides to move. Thus, what I'm trying to tell you is you cannot afford to allow unending reschedulings and cancellations into 2021 and 2022. Now, that being said, we here at TLP have created a new COVID clause. So out with that COVID-19 postponement and cancellation clause. It's okay if you have it in contracts with previous clients. You just got to stick with those policies. But for new clients that are booking you for the next 12, 24 months, I want you to add in what's called an acknowledgement of COVID clause. And within that clause, it's going to have your policies for no rescheduling due to COVID. And this would be added into your new client contracts moving forward. The difference between these two clauses is I am basically urging wedding industry professionals to not allow that complimentary reschedule for clients and instead to charge a rescheduling fee. Now, like I said, I am a bride-to-be. I still am. I still haven't had a wedding. We don't really have any plans in place because we weren't sure if we wanted to plan this year. But, as I'm thinking about this from a client standpoint, I understand that you want to work with your clients as best as you can. And you can do that. You can over-deliver in so many ways. And you can be so clear-cut and upfront with your COVID policies that they feel like you are a professional and profound and strong business owner. And that is good. That is good for your clients and it's good for you. But what I don't want you to do is kind of be a wishy-washy service provider moving forward, because ultimately you're not going to have a successful business. You're not going to be able to stand up for yourself. You're going to allow reschedulings time after time after time because you already allowed one. Now your clients want to do it again. So I don't want you to do that. I want you to have your specific business policy surrounding changing up a date in 2021 due to fear of COVID. And I don't want you to allow rescheduling without a rescheduling fee. And essentially that rescheduling fee, people ask me this a lot. Usually it's a good chunk of change, right? To incentivize your clients not to reschedule. So say, I'm just going to throw out numbers here. Say you have a $3,000 wedding booking. I would do at least $500. If not, you want to have it very, very comparable to what your retainer is for booking a date on your calendar. So usually, that's around $1,000 or $1,500. So that would be the rescheduling fee. And so they can move fees paid over to the new date, but they would need to pay a pretty hefty rescheduling fee. I would say most, wedding industry providers are going somewhere between $500 to $1,000, so a little bit less than their retainer amount, just because it's just a rescheduling fee and the retainer would transfer over. But there's an additional fee involved. So if it's a $3,000 wedding booking, they would be able to move all those fees paid, but they would probably get stuck with another $800, say, rescheduling fee on top of that. So then they're going to pay you $3,800 for the same services, but on a new date. Hopefully you're following along there. So this type of clause will outline to your clients when you will continue to perform your services for your client's wedding or event. And you're going to do so as long as you're legally capable of doing it. This means that, as long as there isn't some stay-at-home order in place, as long as you don't contract COVID or you're deemed like a close contact with someone who tested positive, and then pursuant to your county guidelines, you're supposed to quarantine for the health and safety of others. Those are basically the three main reasons that you wouldn't be able to legally perform your duties. Otherwise, you're going to perform at all. You're going to have all of your safety measures in place and you're going to perform for them. And then your clients, it would outline this clause, they acknowledge COVID. They know the risk presented with COVID. They're choosing voluntarily to move forward with their wedding and event. And they understand that a rescheduling fee would be involved. And then, of course, it also explains cancellations due to COVID means that you forfeit all fees paid again too. So this type of clause really is kind of the standalone clause in your contract. It supersedes any other clauses for COVID-19 purposes only. And then thus, really what this clause does is as long as you can operate as a small business owner and service provider and do what you had contracted to do for your clients, you will continue to do so. And you'll just do so by maintaining the utmost safety and health precautions necessary. And the big thing here, like I said, is please choose one policy. So many people are moving to this new acknowledgement of COVID, no rescheduling situation. And that is going to be a standalone clause in your contract. But if you're a service provider and you're like, you know what, I'm okay with complimentary reschedules. I just want to continue to keep that kind of pressure release valve for my clients. It's really helped me book in 2020 and move forward into the new year. And so I want to continue to do that maybe for the next 6 months or so. Great. Choose that as your policy. And then as you move forward, you want to follow that policy for all your clients from here on out. Ask yourself, look at yourself in the mirror as a business owner and say, what works best for me and my business morals and values? Not my colleague down the street, not the one who's, just all kinds of, information spewing into my ear all the time and telling me I have to do this and I have to do that. No. You are your own business owner. So are you going to allow them to reschedule or cancel with a certain day's notice prior to the wedding or event due to COVID? If so, that's going to be your COVID policy. Or are you not going to allow reschedulings whatsoever and your clients must continue their wedding and event as planned by abiding by local and state guidelines? And then if they do choose to cancel or reschedule due to fear of COVID, there's going to be, some fees and fines that are in place there for that. Okay, so now that you have kind of really looked at what's my COVID policy, what am I doing moving forward into 2021, this is the clause I want to put into my contracts moving forward. I want you to communicate this new COVID policy with your clients. Make it super duper clear in your communication with clients what you will do if COVID still impacts their wedding and event. I cannot begin to tell you how many service providers in the wedding and event industry wait for their clients to contact them. Please don't do this. What most clients are worried about and what you probably expect from them is something that you should be answering right when they inquire. What better way to over-deliver as a service provider than to proactively send them your COVID policy and then ease their minds when you have a plan in place? You are a prepared business owner. So put those policies into action that we just talked about in this episode. And the first way to do that is to add those policies to your contract. So have that COVID clause, whichever one it is, and add it because it will protect you and your clients. Both of you are protected by setting clear expectations and guidelines for how your business is going to address COVID-19 related issues. And then you're going to send your clients an email informing them about any of your COVID policies or any updates. You can also just, all of your clients that you've had on tap for 2021 that have been your clients maybe for the past 12 months or so, and they're still waiting for their wedding to happen in 2021, or anyone who rescheduled from 2020 to 2021, you're probably going to have new COVID policies, regarding your new state and county guidelines, and also just how you as a business owner have been moving forward throughout this whole pandemic. So you need to send them an email, all of your clients. And then you're going to attach your new updated contract at the bottom. So there's really like two ways to do this. You can just send an email and inform them of your policies and, not have them sign something. That's okay. You can send them your policies. And then if they have any questions or concerns, they can reply back and email with you and contact you. Or you can have a contract addendum. And so old contracts, you could have them sign an entirely new contract addendum that would amend and kind of update any of your COVID policies that you previously had in your existing contracts. So you can do this. I will let you know now that I would say, the majority of your clients will probably sign, but just be aware that there's always going to be those clients that are like leery of why you're updating your contracts. However, from a legal standpoint, this is very common to do at the beginning of each year. So you're like, okay, my new, I've updated my contract for 2021. This is my new policy. This is my COVID policy moving forward. So then just be clear and tell your clients what specific sections you've updated in their contract and where they can find those sections. So you're going to literally expressly delineate clause 11 was changed from this to say this, and here's why. And just as a layperson and a kind human, explain to them why that clause was changed. Make sure that these clauses that you've changed in your contract are very conspicuous with proper headings. And then you can even add an initial box in that clause that you changed, or you can add an initial box to the bottom of your contract addendum, and you can have your clients initial that they've read and agreed to your updated policy. So good news is, in the show notes to this podcast episode, TLP has created an email template for you. You can literally copy and paste it when you send your updated COVID policies to your clients, whether that's in, just an email form or whether that's actually with a contract addendum. And you can just literally copy and paste this email. So I will link it in the show notes. You guys can just go to thelegalpaige.com. You just click on the blog and you'll see this podcast episode, and it will link straight to that email template for you to copy and paste. And it's really, really helpful, no brainer moving forward. Now, all in all, what I have been trying to say here is just think ahead to any questions that you anticipate your clients will have. And you want to make sure to include those answers in any email communication you have to your clients, as well as your updated contracts. You may even, I've seen this from wedding industry providers, they have an FAQ portion listed on their website that includes their COVID policies. So it's clear as day in an email to them, in your, right on your website, what your COVID policies are. My goal here for you is, you guys know I am all about being a proactive business owner rather than a reactive business owner. That's literally what the law is all about. Thinking ahead, planning and preparing, and putting your legal policies into and having them in your legal toolkit at all times as a business owner. So try to address as many issues as you can ahead of time so that your clients know you are prepared to handle anything that comes up. That is going to be huge, huge for you. And I know this year has just been rough. So many of you have dealt with difficult situations both in and out of your businesses, but I just want you to have a plan for how you're going to move forward in the new year, 2021, right? How are we going to get some peace of mind? And by doing all of these things and preparing and being ready to handle any tough business situations that may come up, which is going to be a reality. COVID isn't going away anytime soon. If you didn't know that, I don't know what you're doing as a business owner, but it's not going away. The vaccine is coming out. It's going to take time, and things just aren't going back to normal anytime soon. So I promise you, it is worth taking the time and effort to think through what your plan is as a biz owner for COVID-19 before something actually happens with your clients. Now, you guys, I wish you all a safe and happy holiday season. I really hope that you come back into 2021 as a business owner stronger and more confident than ever. Thank you so much for tuning into the Legal Paige Podcast. I hope this was helpful. We have lots of good, helpful resources all across thelegalpaige.com. Thank you all so much for tuning into this episode. I hope it was helpful for you, and I wish you a very, very, very happy new year. Let's bid 2020 goodbye. Thanks so much for listening to this episode of the Legal Paige Podcast. See, I told you being legally legit isn't so scary. Be sure to visit thelegalpaige.com for all show notes. And it would be super awesome if you could head over to iTunes and leave a review. Last but not least, don't forget to join my free Facebook group for unlimited legal and biz Q&A. Chat soon, Legal Pagers.